Our first guest is one of the most endearing characters in Smallville's history. He's had an accomplished career as well. You know him from Blue Mountain State. He's been appearing in Seventh Heaven, ER. He was in CSI. But forever, for this purpose and all of our purposes, he is none other than Pete Ross himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Jones.
Yes, sir.
How are you, man?
I'm well. How are you?
It's great. Tell us real quick, how has quarantine been? You're healthy, you're safe. Have you been handling these last few months?
Yeah, I've been handling it. I've been, I think out of all my friends, I've been the most quarantined, cautious person. And I'm ready to go back outside, honestly.
Yeah, I understand. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. We're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm assuming you know our next guest. This gentleman has an accomplished resume that is pages and pages and pages. He has been an actor in so many different things. When we think of just the superhero properties, he's Dr. Jason Woodrue from Batman and Robin. He was kissed by Uma Thurman and lived to tell about it. He was also just recently Mr. Savannah in Shazam. And of course, don't forget the Riddler in Batman the Animated Series. And he's been a frequent guest on the Hall of Justice podcast and lived to tell about that too. Forever Lionel Luthor. Let's welcome the legend, John Glover.
Yes.
Look at this guy.
I just wanted everybody to see what I've been doing since the pandemic started. See, Annette O'Toole, Smallville, taught me to knit. So I picked it up. And I've just been very busy these last 4 months, but I've really got some doozies, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. So if I ever work again, or we get to work again, I'll give them to my cast mates and people on the crew. Comes in handy for gifts, especially in the summer. All right. I'm exhausted. Thank you. It's been fun, and I'll see you.
So, John, when did you decide, you got the word that COVID-19 was becoming a thing and it was a big deal. Yeah. You grabbed the yarn and said, I must knit. Tell me the connection here.
Well, not right away. But I kept thinking, well, I think we all thought, 2 weeks of quarantine and they're going to ring a bell and life will go on as it was. I mean, that's what I was wondering, what was going to happen after the 2 weeks, But so it took me a while to figure out how to save my sanity during this beautiful aloneness that we're all having. That's deep diving, with things we think about we haven't thought about before. We can come out of this better in some way.
Totally understand.
Because we're all in it together. Wear your masks, everybody. Well, your masks.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Or your scarves. We have a nice blue one. Do you like this color?
John, you should knit a mask.
It wouldn't be much. Well, the knitting, you need a little more protection because the little droplets are going to get through unless it's a teeny tiny little needles that take me forever.
No, you got to knit a mask and then you can sew the knitted part onto the real mask, and it's like designer mask, custom.
John. There you go.
There you go, Sam.
I want the one of one.
Okay, all right. And pink, you like pink now, right?
I already know, brother.
Yeah. Go, baby. Go, baby.
So,
Sam, in all your travels, how often does Pete Ross come into conversations? I mean, fans love him, and you see it online. Even now today, they would never wanted Pete Ross to leave, and he was the best friend Clark could have, and all of it. How has Pete Ross carried you through all these years?
It's amazing. The love is overwhelming at times. What I find is like my hair is long now from quarantine, but if I wear like colors close to orange or colors that I wore on the show, then I get recognized more for Smallville. If my hair is a certain length, I get recognized more for Pete Ross. If it's lower, it's like Craig Shiloh, Blue Mountain State. So it's
right.
It switches up. Also, what's interesting when people are like, oh my God, I recognize you. I can look at them and tell them what they recognize me from. If they're
the way they're looking.
I'll be like Smallville, right? They're like, yeah, So
what's the strangest look they give you? Let's see it. Can you do it? Like, oh, and who is that? What was that?
That was my Home Alone impression.
Oh my God!
There you go.
Yeah.
And John,
yes.
you're forever synonymous with Lionel. And even though you've had all these different roles both before and after the show, you've done so many things, and you were recently in the Shazam movie, which we all loved you. And I thought it was great that you played a villain's dad again, which, talk about playing to type.
What about a nasty dad, though? I mean,
was he nastier than Lionel?
Oh, Lionel wasn't nasty. Everything Lionel did was out of love for Lex to try and make him a stronger person.
Uh-huh. Sam, somehow I don't remember Lionel that way.
Yeah, I think I beg to differ.
You're free to do that.
Lionel was nasty. Lex was a great kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite the villain.
Yeah, he was the architect behind much of the badness. And I remember, and you referenced Annette O'Toole. And that was like, the fans were cringing just at the idea of you with Martha Kent.
I know. Was it fun, wasn't it? Yeah. People used to stop me on the street and say, listen, we like you. It's great. But tell me one thing. Are you meant to be a good guy or a bad guy? We keep getting confused. It was the best compliment I think an actor could have gotten, because it kept everybody guessing all the time. Yeah.
That is true. John, you're a brilliant actor.
Sammy, thank you.
Must say.
You say the sweetest things, man. You just want that fake scarf. Yeah, you're buttering me up. Yeah, right.
You're a powerful actor. You're powerful. Out of all the actors I've worked with over the years, we didn't have a lot of scenes together.
No, we didn't. We should have done too.
But I admired your craft. I admired your professionalism, and you're just such a poised, really strong. I feel like you're a really underrated actor in Hollywood. I feel like you're a legend in my eyes as far as acting is concerned. And, just want you to know that.
Thanks.
Sometimes as an actor, you could get overlooked, even though you've done so many amazing things. Just like, it's like a basketball player. You might play with Michael Jordan, you play with different players, but there's certain players that you're like, yo, that player was tough. Like he doesn't get the props he deserves, but he's tough. So you one tough actor. Yeah.
Oh man. You got 2 scarves, okay?
Two scarves, baby.
A pink and a purple. All right. Yeah. They go well together.
Nice.
All right.
And Sam, one of the things that was always written about when you got the role of Pete, did you read back on some of the comics of Pete? Because one big notion is, Pete was an African-American in the comics, and now I think that's the way they draw him. And, now you're seeing Mehcad Brooks play Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl. And I think you paved a way for that. And just to be able to have different backgrounds to be these characters, and it doesn't have to be the way it was drawn in the 50s and 60s. Your thought on that?
Yeah, it's crazy thinking back to those things, because I was a young actor, and everything I ever did as an actor was my first time, right? So as far as that role prior to Smallville, my agent at the time, Wendy Green, she used to always send me on all auditions that she felt I was right for. So if the character was white, she would still send me, and I used to ask her, like, this character is not black, and she wouldn't care. So that Smallville wasn't the first instance that happened. Like I did one audition and like the parents were already cast, and they actually casted me and then changed the parents. So I was used to just going for all type of roles, no matter what ethnicity it was. So at the time when I went for Smallville, originally I didn't even know that he wasn't African-American. And it was once I got the part that everyone was like studying and reading back. And I was like, wait, hold up. Like, this is Pete Ross, but looking back and people were really nice about it. It wasn't like I never got any like, hey, Pete wasn't black or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it was awesome. And then, like you said, years later to see Mehcad Brooks, who is a friend of mine, we did a movie called Glory Road together. And to think that like I kind of paved the way with that is really cool. So yeah. And then when people see me, it's just like, I'm Pete Ross. Like, I don't know what the comic book, like when I see the old Pete Ross in the comic book, like.
But for a generation you are like that,
exactly.
and that's established. But one of the things I always thought that you had to pull off in order to be Pete Ross, given that history was the camaraderie with Tom, with Clark, that they had to be best friends, and they had to be real best friends, because if that wasn't authentic, then you're a fish out of water.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did Smallville?
I was just a baby, man.
Were you a teenager still?
Yeah, all this stuff. And it's like, when I look back, I'm just like, man, you know, even today, this is the honest to God truth, because like everything I've ever done, I just kind of think of it and I do it, and I never really take the time to really realize how big or how incredible that time was until we look back. And even the fact that I'm doing Smallville panel right now, I was texting my friend. I could even show you the DM, and I was like, I'm on a panel right now. He's like, for what? I'm like, Smallville. And he's like, oh, okay, call me after. Because like at 2:00, I got a phone call with Atlantic Records, because one of my songs is like 10 million streams right now. I'm doing music right now.
Congrats. So that's great.
Yeah. So it's like, sometimes I do things and I'm like, man, I had to start thinking back. Like, what if they asked me what's my favorite episode? I got to think back to the things that I did and like stuff like that. So,
what are you talking about? Do you have the chat? You've seen the questions already?
Do you write your own songs, Sam?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I write all my own songs, and I started, and I have like 20 songs, and I put one of them out, and it's trending on social media, trending on TikToks. Like a bunch of celebrities are doing it. Like,
will Alexa play you?
Of course, King Sam.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure, man. All right. So like, even being on this panel, I wrote to him. I said, hey, bro, like sometimes I forget that I'm famous, because it's true. It's very
good.
true.
Well, like, it's good. It's healthy.
Yeah, it's super healthy. Like just to continue going and keep learning. And now the pandemic, I don't have my engineer here because he doesn't want to fly. So like I'm learning to engineer myself, and I got my little travel setup here, and I'm going to start recording again. So it's like the next chapter. But to come back into this chapter because of this Zoom call, I got to tell John what I got to tell him, and I get to value these moments, you know what I mean? Because it is part of history, and Smallville's it was such a huge part of my life, and just I just appreciate the whole time. Like even when people say you should have stayed longer and all that stuff, like I appreciate the years I was there. I appreciate when I came back for the episode of Hero, you know what I mean? Like the pandemic shows us that we got one life to live, so we have to just appreciate it all, like, you know what I mean? And I appreciate that time, and I appreciate this moment. You know what I mean? So yeah,
that's great. One last question before we interrogate John. One of the coolest moments, because it was one of the first, if my memory serves, is when you found out that he was Superman, because everybody on the show finds out, but you found out, and it was so organic, and your glee. Like you were so happy, and I think you echoed the fans because people wanted him to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I think when I first found out, Pete, I felt betrayed. If you remember.
I remember that. Yep.
And that's what I loved about the writing and the character, and was just like, that's a real feeling. Like you would think someone would be like, "Oh, you're Superman. Let's do this." But it was just the depth of like the emotional heartbreak. Like you've been hiding this deep, dark secret for all this time. You know what I mean? And then eventually that secret brought us closer together, because then I knew this secret and brought me closer into the family, like a family member and a real best friend, you know? So yeah, it was crazy finding out that secret and having to hold on to it. And it was just amazing just to think that Pete Ross, that I played, was Superman's best friend, because Superman's going to go for generations on generations on generations, and part of history now, you know?
Well, it's a great legacy. And, John, you and I, we were last at Wizard World, New Orleans, and you did that panel with Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling, and the sheer glee from the fans in the stands, in the audience there, were absolutely.
Sorry, someone's calling me.
New job. You got a job.
Yeah.
You want to take that? But John, just the way people just admire your legacy as Lionel, and Michael's as Lex, and of course Tom as Clark. What do you get when you experience that from the fans, especially when you're face to face? I mean, this is great that we get to do this on a Zoom and on YouTube and Twitch and things like that. But what was it like just a couple of months ago, back in January, when you were at that panel with Michael and Tom in New Orleans?
Well, it's great because they usually come with love.
Usually.
Okay. Every now and then somebody will say, "Oh, you're an asshole," but no, they do. They come with love, so you feel like you've touched somebody and you've meant something to them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I didn't watch a lot of the shows, but I didn't. I'm like the Batman, for instance. I never watched that because it was on Saturday mornings. Well, I'm a grown-up. I wasn't going to watch a cartoon on Saturday mornings, but it changes people's lives. And I find that so many people at the Comic-Cons are turning their kids on now to Smallville because there are big learning experiences there for, what happens when one of my favorite episodes, I'm not in it, was when Jonathan teaches Clark how to not when he gets sexual feelings, how not to burn the barn down.
Yeah.
it just was beautiful. It was
Sam was there. Sam was there for that.
Yeah. But
that and the X-ray when you guys are climbing the ropes.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
When he figures out that he can see through walls, and the first thing he looks at is the ladies' locker room.
Exactly. There you go. So, my favorite episode.
All right. We are getting all kinds of questions from Facebook, from YouTube, from Twitch. So they're being handed to me here, and so let's ask some of the questions here. Autumn Dawn writes, "What's your favorite on and offset moment?" And I think it's for both of you. Sam, why don't you start?
Okay, let's think. Favorite on-set moment. I would say like during the episode of Hero, just coming back. I hadn't seen everyone in so many years, so to come back and like that. Smallville was my first series regular. So we lived in Vancouver, Canada, so we all relocated there. So it was like a family, Yeah. So for me, it was like coming back to see my family, like a family reunion. So that was my favorite. That was definitely my favorite moment of like all of Smallville. And what was it? On camera and off camera?
And offset, maybe just offset. Something.
Offset, I would say just like spending time with Tom, just over his house, hanging out, being friends. I think that's what really helped the chemistry on set, right? Like we were really friends both on and off. So I would just say like spending time with the cast and just having fun in Vancouver. It was fun. So yeah.
Very cool. John, what do you think?
Well,
best on and offset moment.
Well, what sprang immediately to mind about the best moment was giving Lex a shock treatment.
I just love your grin when you say that.
but I guess my off camera would be any dealings with Michael, because they were all insane and beautiful at the same time. You wanted to wring his neck and hug him all at once. He's an amazing actor because I finally figured out what he was doing. He was being naughty Michael because that's how he wanted me to deal with Lex. So once I figured out we really had a good time together. And he likes to expose body parts too.
All right.
I hear he doesn't do it anymore. He's matured. But that would be a very nice, off-camera moment.
Yeah.
Drop of a hat. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure that's what Autumn was looking for, too.
Yeah. Hi, Autumn. I hope this. Never mind. Never you mind, little lady. Okay.
At BLM Beautiful, question for Sam. Were there any planned story arcs for Pete that never came to fruition?
Not story arcs. I don't think there were any story arcs that didn't come to fruition. I just think like leaving season 3, there could have been a lot more, obviously, things that could have happened as his best friend. But as far as planned story arcs that we had, there was never any story arcs that we discussed that I was like, what? I'm leaving now? We're not going to get a chance to do that, So I think we got it all done.
How much did you watch after you left?
None. Honestly,
Really?
honestly, nah, none. I don't even know what happened. I don't even know anything about it.
You know, he becomes Superman.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Spoilers.
But yeah, it's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of like John. Like, I didn't see a lot of the episodes. Like, I saw the episodes in the beginning when we would watch them together and stuff like that. But I'm also an actor like John. Like, I don't do the show and then be like, okay, let me watch this. Wow, I'm on TV right now. Like, sometimes I catch it, sometimes I don't. You know, it wasn't that type of. I think I've seen almost all the episodes, but sometimes on TV, if I do catch an episode, I could look and I'll be like, damn, I don't even remember doing that scene. Like,
really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
I'll see some stuff and I can't put myself at that day, at that moment of that episode. Like, some of the episodes, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that day it was cold. I remember this. I remember he came in like that. I remember this. But certain episodes, can't even remember. I'm like, damn, I can't even remember being there, you know?
I just say for the audience and as a fan, that is a show that if you come across it, you know, but if you especially by accident, but if you just pop in a Blu-ray or see it on a streaming service or however, you know, you watch TV, it is gripping. Like you stay in there and you don't leave. And now, you know, the way it's been distributed, you know, it doesn't have the commercial breaks. So it's different now, and they fly. It is the fastest moving show because there's action, but there's so much drama, and there's that model. And I just think that Smallville, you see homages to Smallville in all the CW stuff, and it's not all the same people, you know, right. the writers and stuff, but the Flash and Arrow and Supergirl and all these shows, you see what you guys started then when superhero shows weren't the norm, and now everybody's got a superhero show.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like, a lot of people, they come up to me and they like, Smallville for each person is a different moment in their life. So people, they'll come from the military and, bro, you got me through. I was overseas. I was in the military and you got me through. Like, so many different, life-changing moments. People relate to Smallville. So I get so much love from just people you wouldn't even think. They just come up and it's so endearing. They're just so endearing. And a lot of families watched it together. So it reminds them of family time, you know? So it's just an amazing show. And when I first booked that show, I didn't know it was going to be so amazing. One thing that I did see, we all saw together, was a pilot. We shot the pilot. It was fun, but I really did not know what an incredible production I was a part of. And then when we watched the pilot on the big screen, like, I was just like, holy shit. Like,
when he's in that field, when he's on that field with that necklace, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was incredible. And another thing is, we were shooting in Vancouver. So I lived in Canada. So when I would come back to LA and see like Tom's face on the side of a bus or like all this stuff, I'd be like, holy crap. Because we were like in Canada, it wasn't even playing there yet in the beginning. And we were just like living our normal lives. But then you fly to the States and people like Smallville, and you're like, oh man, you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. John, you referenced the military, and I remember talking to you about this at one of the cons that we did, and just the idea that Smallville premiered at the perfect time, that it was right after 9/11, and we needed a hero. We needed something to sink our minds into, and it came at the perfect time. And you know, whether Tom wanted it or not, he had a legacy of a 70-year-old superhero that he really was the focal point of a lot of people's consciousness.
Right. I got a flag sent to me by a trooper, a group, and who was there fighting for us. I was so moved by it. It was amazing. Yeah. We love you for it.
It's all the timing, and Smallville came at the right time.
Right.
It was the
at the right time.
Storm.
Yep.
Autumn, I think this is the same Autumn, says, well, she doesn't want to know about the body parts. Sorry, but
sorry, Autumn. I hope I didn't you out.
She says, would you have liked to have done a musical episode of Smallville? I really would have loved to have seen that, even if that would have been in the extras, just as a fun goodbye.
Well, I sing off key, so it would have been very funny, I think, or repulsive, depending on which bothers you more. All right. Don't like goodbyes, tears, or sighs. when I'm not, and then if I have to, I flinch, like it's when I'm in a show and I have to do a musical. Yeah. Flinch. Yeah.
One of the great stories that you told me, John, on the podcast was when you were recording Batman the Animated Series. You would do it with the whole cast. So you were the Riddler, and you had the whole cast. And just everybody watching John now, this is John's personality. Could you imagine being in a room with Mark Hamill and John Glover, or Kevin Conroy, or any of the Batman the Animated Series people all in one room trying to get through those lines, and then on a dime he becomes the Riddler, or on a dime he becomes Lionel Luthor. It's incredible the way you can flip that switch.
Yeah, it's quite a switch. Yeah, thank you.
Try to give you a compliment.
Yeah, I know, but that the Batman thing was about Andrea Romano. I mean, she's a genius, and she had everybody, because a lot of people who do the voiceover work just work on their own by themselves. But she had the whole company there in a nice little arc. So we spent 2, 3, 4 hours playing together. I mean, it was divine. That's why it was so good, because actors were using what other actors gave them instead of pretending. I've told you, when you do one of those things, you have to do 10 different versions of the line, depending on who's going to ask you the question, which version of the question they chose. I mean, it sounds so monotonous.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Elise writes and says, Sam and John, I watched Smallville during quarantine. It's a great show. What do you think about the fact that people are rediscovering Smallville? I
think it's wonderful, because it is a family show that can bring people together. And that's what we need right now. We all need to come together. So if Smallville can help in some way to do that, that's great.
Exactly. My feeling precisely.
There you go. Corey and Rhonda ask you guys, how were you told that your character was leaving or dying? And what was the biggest surprise arc your character took?
I was told by one of the drivers.
No.
Yeah. Well, because they go out on the shoots, and he's driving, and they were talking about, we're going to have to kill Lionel now. So he came back and said, so how do you feel about them, John? They're killing you. And I sort of like, what? Oh, okay. So that's how I learned. But I did suggest to the writers that when they do kill me off, they should have Lex kill me, because that would turn him, patricide would turn him right into the villain that he should become. So I also said, when you send me to jail, I said, if you film it, I'll let you shave my hair.
And I was going to ask you about that. That's one of the eeriest, coolest scenes, and you suggested it?
I suggested it, yeah. Well, it's a lot of hair. I couldn't do much with it. It was a pain in the butt, actually. So I got a crew cut. But you got a crew cut with eerie music and a camera crew. I know. But the guy that was going to cut my hair, Rick, he was a stunt double, he was stunt coordinator, big old guy that just he kind of scared me for several years before I came. So he had the shears, and the man is so sweet that he couldn't do it because he was afraid he was going to hurt me when he would shave my hair. So he lost his job, and they had to put the hair guy in just to see his hands. Yeah. But he's the sweetest man. He was so afraid he's going to hurt me. I beat him up after we finished shooting. Yeah.
That's one of the
Showed him what hurt.
It's one of the most iconic scenes of that show.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. Don't forget, folks, if you're watching live or watching later on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, check out the paid exclusive experiences like the one-on-one private video chats with these two gents. Well, it's one-on-one, so it's not both of them. It's one or the other. Autographs, custom video, recorded messages, and all you have to do is go to the website wizardworldvirtual.com. And it must be a really cool thrill for you guys to get a chance to see people that have been waiting online and wanting to see and wanting to talk to you about their favorite show. It must be a real thrill on both sides.
But the only thing that won't be happening here is you won't be able to smell anybody. Well, that's important.
Is that a good thing?
Well, no. Yes,
No.
I like to smell a person.
Okay.
I mean, that's the dog in me, I guess. I don't know.
You wear special cologne so they can smell you back and make it like a mutual experience?
When I do wear a special cologne, it's underarm deodorant and it's sage. Yeah, it's on Namaste.
Yeah, I love the one-on-one experience just because it's like the energy. You know what I mean? The energy. Yep. Why I thought we were going to be seeing people today. You know what I mean? I just feed off of.
We have that to look forward to.
Oh yeah, yes. I got that. I'm more excited than they are. You know. So I can't wait for those one-on-ones.
Okay.
Very cool.
Me too. Right. Me too.
Amy writes us here and says, question for John and Sam. Smallville set the stage for superhero TV shows. Do you have a favorite DC show or superhero to come out since Smallville?
No.
I was going to say, Sam, please take it because I know John's going to say no.
No, but I don't. It's the truth.
Really?
Superman's my all-time favorite superhero, and Smallville's my all-time favorite superhero show. So,
I mean, all of the sort of DC things I've done have fallen into my lap. I don't know any. I wasn't into Superman or those kind of books and things, but I've done so many of them. So I don't get it, but I'm very happy about it because they've always been fun to work on. And with Lionel, there was no before that I had to, research or whatever. I think he was only in one book, and it's when he threw Lex out of the house. Somebody showed it to me once, but so I could sort of make it anything. So it was very free. Yeah.
We haven't spoken since the passing of Joel Schumacher, and you worked with Joel on Batman. Well, several times, but famously you were with Batman and Robin. This cult classic of a movie.
Yeah. It didn't do too well, did it?
That movie has its following, though.
Yes? Well, good. Well, that's because of me and Uma, obviously.
Well, you get to tell the story that Uma Thurman kissed you.
Well, I mean, she kept messing it up, so we'd have to do it over and over and over and over. And I said, Uma, maybe it would work if you didn't put your tongue so far down my throat. Mm-hmm. You believe that? No, it's not true. Yeah, but she was fun to work with, though, I tell you. Yeah, Joel directed The Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin.
That's right.
That's where I first met him.
That's right.
God rest his sweet soul.
He did so many amazing movies.
Yeah.
David has a question for John. Was there or is there any talk of bringing back Brimstone? I've asked that question. I've even wondered why it never got put on buying, whatever DVDs or whatever streams again, because it was a really fun show. They pulled the plug. I can't remember how many episodes we made, but they were already starting to film the first day of the one. They just came on the set and said, "We're pulling the plug, no more." So it was all a mystery as to why it happened, but I had a great time. It was a lot of fun playing the devil, different guy every week. Yeah. He goes on to say, for both, what other projects do you guys have coming up or are working on?
I got right before the pandemic, or before our period of isolation, I got offered an arc on an ongoing TV show that I had to sign a release that I'd say I wouldn't say what it was or anything. So I can't tell what it was, but
you brought it up anyway.
Well, I'm of an age, so I just want to know that I'm still employable. All right. I'm about to turn on August 7th is my birthday, and it's one of those big ones.
Oh, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
It's one of those big ones?
Well, they're all big once you reach a certain age. So this is another one of those big ones. But it's not a monumental one, like a decade one or anything like that. It's the middle of the thing.
Middle of a decade.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. Sam, what about projects you have coming up and working on? You were telling us before you're working on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, right now, my biggest focus is my music. It's my passion. It started off not being my passion. Like a lot of people just telling me that I should do music. You should do music. You should do music. And I tried it and I locked in for like 2 or 3 months last year. And I created a lot of music, but then I never released it. I just held on to it. And then what happened was one time I was recording in the studio and one of my friends was filming it on his Instagram and he put it on his story without me knowing. So in the morning I woke up and I had so many messages and I was like, what the hell is this? And then I saw that he had put it on his story and everyone's like, that's fire. When is it coming out? Drop like so much positivity.
Oh, that's great.
That's great, Sam. Sam, if you ever need an off-key, older backup singer, call me, all right?
When I saw what you were doing earlier, I was like, yes, he's my guy.
Okay, but it has to be off-key.
Yeah, you'll be my hype man. You'll be my hype man. Bring you out.
Okay, all right. Okay, man.
But yeah, that's the new project. And I got a Zoom call with Atlantic Records after this. A lot of labels have been reaching out to me and just a lot of stuff that I never saw in my future. Like I never thought that I could be musically talented in any way. And what I've discovered is that even if John really wanted to do music, he can. Because as an actor,
your attitude, man.
No, but you can, because as an actor, we're performers. And that's what I noticed on the mic. I put the headphones on, I hear the beat, I feel it. And I just improv the whole song. Like people are like, how did you write this? How did you come up with this? I just think of my truth, put it into the mic, change my tone, get into it. I don't know. I'm a natural. I truly believe that no matter how successful I ever was, Smallville, all TV shows, music, I'm going to be way bigger. I believe that I'm going to be like the #1 artist in the world. I truly believe it. So,
I'm so impressed with you, Sammy. Boy, man.
It's just a fact. It comes so natural, feels so right. And it's so effortless and the people just gravitated to it so much. And the thing is, a lot of artists that I've met in the past, they're putting on these personas, but I'm the truth. My music is the truth. I don't have to try to be something. They loving it for what it is, what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have to go into interviews and talk different or dress different, or it's me and it's real and it feels good. So I'm super excited to dive into that. And then, after that journey, we'll see what's next. But it just shows me that life is limitless. And this quarantine has also showed me that, like, after 4 months of trying to do it correctly, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out what if this goes for another year? You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Well,
good man, Sam. Good man.
Right now we can see that people are watching here from Uruguay, Norway, New York, California, Washington, Virginia, Ohio. All over they're watching.
Nice.
And one more quick note. Go Collect is your #1 source for collectibles. They track the sales of graded comics and have robust analysis tools for their users. They stay active on social media and have giveaways every week. Go Collect also has an expansive blog with topics on comic book speculations, video games, and concert posters. Soon they're launching price guides for concert posters and video games. Go Collect's goal is simple: make collecting better. Be sure to check them out at gocollect.com. And we'll get final thoughts from these guys, but want to remind you tomorrow, we're doing a live recording of the Hall of Justice podcast, myself and the great Victor Dandridge. That's tomorrow at 1 Pacific time, 4 Eastern. And at 4 Pacific time, Charles Learson and Butch, the author of Butch Cassidy, will also be here. Plus, later on, the chilling adventures of Sabrina and DC Stars and much, much more. You Create Comics, and you can check it all out at wizardworldvirtual.com.
You are one busy man, aren't you?
Yeah. You got to work somehow, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you can. I just knit. Oh, I do potholders too. I have my original loom from elementary school. So no. I do a mean potholder. Yeah.
Glaze?
You want a pink one of them too, Sammy?
Glaze? You put the glaze on it?
Oh, no, I don't glaze them.
Oh, no glaze? Oh, okay.
I've given them all away, but they're awfully nice.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask for your final thoughts, but do you want that to be your final thoughts?
No. I want us all to come together in the world. That's what I want.
And what do you say to the diehard fans of Smallville? What does Lionel Luthor have to say to them?
God bless you all. Family. We're all one big family.
Right on. And
God
Sam, final thoughts to the folks who just clamor for Pete Ross. No matter how big a rock star you get, they want Pete Ross.
Yeah, my final words is that we are all truly limitless. We can't see the future, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel for everyone, even during this time. So to bring that to Smallville, it's just like it was a superhero show that was so great, right? And during this time, like we all got to stick together, like family, like John said. But my last words is just like we're all limitless, just like Clark was on Smallville. That's who we are. Anything you want to do, you can do. You just have to believe it. And even if you can't see it, you just have to hold on, have a little bit of faith, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what
that attitude. Attitude's very important, everybody. Attitude.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sam Jones and John Glover, the cast of Smallville. They were outstanding as always. Don't forget, you can check them out individually. Just go to wizardworldvirtual.com. For John and for Sam, I'm Seth Everett. We'll be right here tomorrow afternoon for the Hall of Justice podcast. But in the meantime, Smallville, just be honest, it is such a great show, and there's no secret about that. We will see you next time here at Wizard World.
Okay.
Peace.
Thanks all.
Hey, this is Alex Malari Jr., and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Your Emperor commands it. Thanks for watching.